You've probably heard the phrase right view thrown around before, but what does it actually mean? It sounds simple enough, but it's one of the most profound concepts in ancient philosophy for really understanding how our own minds work. So today, we're going to peel back the layers on this using an incredible ancient text as our guide. And this is the exact question that kicks off a classic text, the Sammaditthi Sutta. It's like a direct challenge, right? It's asking us to go beyond just repeating a phrase and to get to the heart of what it really truly means to see the world and ourselves with genuine clarity. And this is where it gets so cool. The text doesn't just hand you a simple definition. Nope, it gives you a whole method, a systematic way to analyze your own experience. It's like it's teaching you how to peel an onion, layer by layer, starting from the most obvious things we do all the way down to the deepest, hidden roots of our mind. Okay, so let's jump in. Here's our roadmap, and it follows the same brilliant logic as the sutta itself. We're going to start with our actions, the tangible stuff. Then we'll look at what's fueling our minds. After that, we'll apply this whole framework to that universal problem of stress and trace it all the way back to its source in this fascinating chain of causality. And finally, we'll see how to actually break that chain. So the journey into right view starts in the most practical place you can imagine, our actions, right here, right now. Before we dive into any deep psychology, we just have to look at what we're actually doing. So this first layer of seeing clearly, it's really just about being able to tell the difference between what causes harm and what doesn't. It's super practical, as you can see. Can you tell the difference between an unskillful action, like lying, and a skillful one, like, well, not lying? It's about recognizing that our actions have real consequences. They lead to suffering or they lead to well-being. On the surface, it's that straightforward. But why do we do the unskillful stuff in the first place? This is where the sutta gives us this really powerful metaphor of roots. It says that our unskillful actions are being fed by 3 toxic roots buried deep in the mind. Greed, that constant wanting and grasping, aversion, that pushing away and resisting, and delusion, which is just plain old confusion about how things really are. Now, here's a really crucial insight. Pay attention to this. The roots of skillful action aren't some positive qualities you have to create out of thin air. It's not about forcing yourself to be generous or kind. It's simply the absence of the bad stuff. It's the lack of greed, the lack of aversion, the lack of delusion. So what that means is, clarity isn't something you build. It's something you uncover by pulling out the weeds that are clouding your judgment. All right, so if our minds have these roots, what are they feeding on? What's the soil that lets greed, aversion, and all that stuff grow in the first place? The text takes us another layer deeper. The text calls this nutriment, and it breaks it down into 4 types of food. There's the obvious one, physical food, but then it points to 3 kinds of mental food that we are constantly consuming. Contact, that's just our senses meeting the world. Then there's intellectual intention, our plans, our worries, our ideas, and even consciousness itself. Just think of these as the mental calories that are fueling our entire inner life all day long. So here it is, the next critical link in the chain. What drives us to constantly seek out all this nutriment? Why are we always looking for the next snack, the next song, the next interesting thought? The text points to one single powerful force, craving. That constant, nagging, underlying thirst for more experience, for more life. Okay, so now we've got this incredible framework of cause and effect, right? We've got roots, we've got the nutriment that feeds them, and we've got the craving that drives it all. So now we can take this toolkit and apply it to the central problem this whole teaching is designed to solve, the problem of stress. And the text is super clear about what it means by stress, or dukkha. We're not just talking about having a bad day at work here. This is the big stuff. It's that deep, fundamental dissatisfaction that's kind of woven into life. That low-level hum of knowing things change, the pain of loss, and the constant frustration of not getting what we want. And what's the origin of this deep, existential stress? Well, it's the same culprit we just identified, isn't it? Craving. Specifically, it's that relentless thirst that keeps us chasing satisfaction in things that are temporary, constantly creating this future version of ourselves that we hope will finally be content. And the logic here is just, it's so beautifully simple and direct. If craving is the cause of stress, then to end stress, you have to end craving. It's that simple. You remove the cause and the effect just vanishes. So, how on earth do you do that? Well, the text doesn't leave us hanging. It points to a practical step-by-step method, the Noble Eightfold Path. And this path, which actually begins with right view itself, is basically the complete training program for uprooting craving and putting an end to stress for good. Okay, now we're going into the deep end. The text takes this entire analysis and expands it backward, like an incredible diagnostic tool. It unpeels the whole chain of causality to show us exactly how we get from the tiniest, most subtle flicker in the mind all the way to the unavoidable reality of suffering. The way it does this is just brilliant. It works backward, like a detective. It starts with the big one, aging and death, and asks, well, what has to happen for this to happen? The answer, birth. Okay, and what causes birth? The mental habit of becoming, always creating a sense of a future self. And what fuels that? Clinging, our grasping onto ideas, sensations, you name it. And what causes clinging? You guessed it, our old friend, craving. And this chain gets traced all the way back to its ultimate hidden source. Now, this huge abstract chain, it can feel a little overwhelming, but it becomes incredibly real and personal when you just zoom in on a single link. Take this one, the connection between a simple feeling and the craving that pops up right after it. Just think about it for a second. A pleasant sound hits your ear, that's contact. A pleasant feeling arises. And then almost instantly, before you even realize it, the mind jumps in and goes, ooh, I like that. I want more. And boom, there's craving. That tiny, automatic reaction, which happens hundreds of times a day without us noticing, is a perfect miniature model of the entire chain of suffering in action. So what's at the very, very beginning of this whole chain reaction? What's the ultimate root? Ignorance. But listen, this isn't ignorance in the sense of being dumb or unintelligent. It's a very specific kind of blindness. It's the lack of knowing these 4 key things we've been talking about. What stress really is, where it comes from, the fact that it can actually end, and the path that leads to its end. Now, I know this might all sound a bit heavy, this complex, automatic chain that seems to be running our lives on autopilot. But the whole point of seeing the chain clearly is to figure out where and how we can snip it. And here we are. This is the most practical and honestly the most liberating point in this entire masterclass. The text reveals that you do not need to be some enlightened genius who has memorized this entire chain. The key to breaking it is so much more accessible than that. I mean, this is just brilliant, right? The strategic genius of this teaching is that you only need to see the connection between any 2 links clearly. If you can truly see in your own direct experience how a simple feeling gives rise to craving, that one insight is your leverage point. That's it. That's enough to begin to unravel the entire pattern. So you see, right view isn't about just believing in some doctrine. It's a method of investigation. It's about taking this map and using it to explore your own inner world. The chain of suffering is built on all these automatic reactions we almost never notice. So the final question isn't what you should believe, it's where. In your own day-to-day experience, can you just start to look?